is a beautiful thing. It grows to the quiver of a fife that sings. I can take it with the wave of my hand and place it upon my music stand. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing.
Hello everybody, thank you for joining us. Special acknowledgement now for those of you who are watching this as one of the prepared videos. We publish and post all of my talks on 3 different video platforms: BitChute and Rumble and YouTube. So please subscribe to whatever platform you are watching this on. Hit the like button. It really helps. That means that platform will share this video with more of the members of that platform. And also leave a comment. It'd be great. I love hearing your comments. I like to answer them. And just share anything that you may have gotten from listening to the talk. Happy 4th of July weekend to everybody. Happy 250th birthday of the United States of America. On Friday night, there was a wonderful ceremony. That was actually on July 3rd on Mount Rushmore, at the Mount Rushmore National Monument. Then last night, there was another amazing event at the National Mall, Washington, D.C., in between the Lincoln Memorial and the George Washington Monument. And they both were amazing. At the Mount Rushmore exhibit or ceremony on Friday night, they also had the governor of South Dakota. Mount Rushmore's in South Dakota. They had the governor of South Dakota, Larry Rhoden, speak. And they also had the Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, speak. And they had the 45th and the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump, speak. And apparently, before he spoke, he flew over the Mount Rushmore Monument with the brand new, huge luxury jet that was given to the United States and to President Trump by the country of Qatar, or Gutter. Some people pronounce it gutter. I do have a picture I want to share that I found on the internet. I sure hope this actually is a real picture and not a CGI thing. Hold on a second here. I'm having trouble. There we go. But I've been sharing it with everybody because I just think it's amazing. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And that's the brand new Air Force One flying over Mount Rushmore. I can't see it, but hopefully you can. There it is. I found it. So that's the brand new Air Force One and then Mount Rushmore over here. And it was quite a thing for the people who were gathered there at Mount Rushmore. Let me get back to my notes here. Okay, the Mount Rushmore event was especially meaningful for me because 3 years ago, just about 3 years ago, I organized an extended family trip to Mount Rushmore. 6 of my family and my partner, Reverend Deuce Althea's family, flew into Rapid City, South Dakota, which is the city that Mount Rushmore is right outside of. Small city, but it's a city. And we all met at the airport. We all flew in within an hour or so of each other. We rented 2 cars. We checked into our hotel in Rapid City. And then the next day, we all went and spent the day and the evening at Mount Rushmore. And Mount Rushmore was, it was one of those bucket list things for me. I'd always wanted to see Mount Rushmore, especially after when I was a child. I saw the movie North by Northwest, and that ends with this big climactic scene at the Mount Rushmore Monument. And I remember thinking at the time, I must have been 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't remember. So I thought I'd like to see that thing. So I have a picture of the family at Mount Rushmore. So there I am with that's my sister Sarah. There's Reverend Deuce Althea. This is Reverend Deuce's nephew, and those are Reverend Deuce's two twin sisters. And there's Mount Rushmore in the background. Mount Rushmore statues in the back of us. And it was a wonderful day. It was a full day experience. I mean, there's a lot more at Mount Rushmore than just the statues of the presidents. There's museums and a cinema and walking tours and just all kinds of things. They do make it into a whole day activity. And it was very meaningful and lovely. Of course, it was just an absolutely beautiful day when we were there. And and when you're there, then you go back in the evening, or if you're there when nighttime falls, they have this big ceremony in this big amphitheater as it's just beginning to get dark. And we had a person from the National Park Service, a woman, gave a very wonderful 20, 30-minute patriotic talk about what it means to be American. It was really all about diversity, if I remember correctly. So what it means to be an American and the diversity. There was a movie that was shown about the construction of the monument, which was really an amazing thing. They invited all the veterans to come up on stage. A lot of the people were there were veterans, and I don't know. We sang probably the Star Spangled Banner. By then it got dark, and then they shined these big bright lights onto the faces of the presidents, and it was an amazing thing. If you don't know that it's President Washington, President Jefferson, President Roosevelt, and President Lincoln. And to actually see this event take place on Friday night, and they showed a lot of, they panned the crowd a lot, and they were all in that exact same amphitheater that Deuce Althea and I were in 3 years ago. And it started, when it was light, and as the ceremony went on, it got dark, and then it ended with an amazing fireworks display, which I again got a little picture of, if I can get it up here.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
Pretty bad.
there's the fireworks over the heads of the president. There's Washington on the left, and then that's Jefferson, and then Roosevelt, and then there's Lincoln on the far right. And they're very impressive to get up close to. You can take a little trail that walks like right underneath them or close to underneath them. So it's very they're pretty impressive. And the whole story about how they were carved is also, just an amazing feat. So I felt like I was right there on Friday night when they were doing the presentations and the speeches and the fireworks. It just felt like I was right there with them. So this was in the reading that Reverend Paula read. There's an important thing about, just what thoughts do we want to put out there in the world, and what thoughts do we want to put out there in the world on this occasion of the 4th of July holiday that we're celebrating this year on the occasion of our 250th birthday. And the quote said, "Thoughts increase by being given away. The more who believe in them, the stronger they become. Everything is an idea." So we should always just be cognizant, aware of what thoughts we're putting out there. Are we putting out positive thoughts, happy thoughts, joyful thoughts, exuberant thoughts? And that's what I want to be putting out there. And I certainly want to be putting those thoughts out there on this occasion of the 250th birthday of the United States of America. And as I talked about last week, and I've been talking about with my healing team for the current week, there's this predominant message of freedom. It's such a strong message in A Course in Miracles. And it's so strongly, freedom is so strongly associated with the United States of America. And USA citizens have an unprecedented amount of freedom, especially compared to many and maybe most of the other nations in the world, other countries in the world. We have guaranteed freedoms, and they're not perfect, and they have to be challenged and fought for at times. And I've always claimed freedoms in my own life, and I've always really identified with freedoms all throughout my life. And certainly freedom in how I've chosen to live my life, and freedom in my chosen lifestyle. I will make a declaration here. This is nothing new. I've declared this hundreds of times, but I am an open, bisexual, non-monogamous man. I have been an open, bisexual, non-monogamous man my whole adult life. And I have the freedom to do that and be that and declare that openly in the United States of America. I don't have to be closeted in any way, shape, or form. And I've never been closeted. Really. I mean, there was a coming out process when I was in my 20s and early 30s, perhaps. But since then, and that was decades ago. So since then, I have definitely been just out there with who and what I am. And I am grateful that I live in a country that allows me to do that. Not every country does. Many, many countries do not. So I have a lot of gratitude for that. Now, that doesn't mean you can say things like that and not get criticism. You will maybe get criticized, and it doesn't mean it's going to be universally accepted, but you have the right to live that life, to make those choices. And you have the right to declare it whenever you feel so guided to it. And I guess I felt so guided to do that today. But I was also thinking about some other freedoms and some other rights that I've had. I mean, I, along with Reverend Larry Bedini, had the freedom to start a church in 1987 based on A Course in Miracles, on the spiritual principles and the religious theology and practice that we had embraced. And we had the freedom to do that. We had the legal right to do that. We had a legal procedure by which to do that. And I think that's just an amazing freedom. And not a lot of countries have that kind of freedom. This was also in the reading that Reverend Paula read. It says, "My brothers cannot really betray themselves or me, and it is still on them that I must build my church." So I took that very literally, and I embraced that and lived that, and was then guided to legally form the Community Miracles Center. And I have the freedom to do that. Anybody has the freedom to do that in the United States of America, because we have the First Amendment to the Constitution. First Amendment to the Constitution is part of the Bill of Rights. I'm so glad I have all that civics training from my early schooling. I hear they don't give it as much anymore, but I definitely have it. And the First Amendment to the Constitution, which is, of course, also the First Amendment to the Bill of Rights, it says, "Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof." So because of statements like that, it was doable. I can't say that it was time consuming. And it took a lot of, excuse me, document filing and back and forth with federal government agencies. It wasn't like it was necessarily easy, but it was definitely doable. And I remember some years ago, I was communicating with some people who lived just in the United Kingdom, and they were trying to form a church based on A Course in Miracles, and they were finding all kinds of roadblocks that were preventing them from doing that. And they talked to me about it, and it just was really obvious that the situation in the United Kingdom was not the same as the situation in the United States of America. And it was much more difficult to actually form a church in the United Kingdom. So I don't take any of that for granted. And I'm very, very grateful that I live in a country that gave me that religious freedom, and also that gave me my freedom for my chosen lifestyle. That's great. Um, think about the world. Okay, so I was thinking about communist China. China, the big nation of China and communist China, they persecute religious people in communist China. You know, sometimes people think about China in this country and they think about its efficiency. They believe this efficiency that it has. Kind of questionable whether they actually have that efficiency, and what they're able to accomplish. But China as a country, especially under the leadership of the Communist Chinese Party, has terrible, really terrible abuses of human rights. They persecute and imprison people who practice the religious belief, the spiritual practice of Falun Dafa, which is a practice that is really largely meditational. It's a very peaceful practice that really teaches forbearance, tolerance about all people and all things. And they imprison them. And they not only imprison them, after they are imprisoned them, they harvest them for their bodily organs. I mean, this is pretty awful when you think about it. So wealthy people who can afford it in China, and certainly maybe people who are high up in the party itself, in the Communist Party themselves, when they need a new liver, they get one of these religious people who are in prison and they kill them for their liver. Or they kill them for their heart or their lungs or their kidneys. And this has come out, we've known of this for quite a while, but more and more proof keeps getting exposed every day that this exists. So not only just religious freedom, I mean, your organs are harvested because of your religious affiliation in communist China. So again, don't take it for granted. I don't take it for granted, and I am grateful and proud that I live in a country that really doesn't imprison me because my religious beliefs aren't the norm, and actually allows me to form a church where I can openly practice my religious beliefs and where I can openly state and practice my lifestyle choices. I mean, that's just amazing. I was talking about this with my healing team this past week, and one of the members of our team, Reverend Randy, he's not here today, but he's frequently here on Sundays. He talks about when he visited France just a couple of years ago, he was surprised that it's really only the Catholic Church that has the privileges that one would expect. That other churches somehow are discouraged. And he wasn't quite clear of the process, but he was really clear about what he saw was that the Catholic Church is like accepted by the state, maybe as a state church, and other churches not so much. So that even Western countries like France does not have the religious freedom that the United States of America has. So that's just really something to think about. The Declaration of Independence says we hold these truths to be self-evident. I've talked about that on and off. And, I had a self-evident truth that I was connected to A Course in Miracles, and that was going to be the belief system or the religion that I would have. My religion was self-evident to me, and I am very happy that I have a church, the Community Miracle Center, to practice this religion in. And we have been doing that for 39 and a half years. And I'm happy that Reverend Larry and I were guided to do that. And speaking of Reverend Larry, today is actually Reverend Larry's birthday. Reverend Larry's birthday is on the 5th of July. And since we're talking about the forming of the CMC, I definitely want to acknowledge Reverend Larry and wish him happy birthday. Happy birthday, Reverend Larry. Look, we're still going. We're still going strong. We've just moved into a new place. We're getting ready to start hybrid services. So, all that work that you did, that we did together back in the late 80s and 90s is still bearing fruit. So happy birthday and thank you. So again, I'm proud. Somebody challenged me about using the word pride. I don't mean it in an egotistical way, but I'm just happy, and I can look at accomplishments and feel good about them. So I'm happy that we formed the Community Miracle Center, and I'm happy that I live in a country that just allows that. An interesting thing about anniversaries and birthdays that I want to mention, and we don't think about this too often, but it's been mentioned on and off. But when you celebrate your first birthday, when you're like 1 year old and you have your first birthday, you say you're turning one. That's not actually true. You're actually turning two. You've been in your first year, and at that first birthday, you're actually in your second year. You're not in your first year anymore. You're in your second year. You really should say you're turning two, but we say we're turning one. I mean, your first birthday isn't that birthday that you have after 1 year. It's when you were born. Your first birthday is that's your birthday when you were born. That's when you became one. That's when you entered your first year. So when you turn one, you're actually entering your second year. So when we say the United States of America had its 250th birthday, let's not forget that means we're actually in our 251st year. So it also means that we're all probably a year older than we think we are, which probably isn't great news for a lot of people. So the USA turned 250, maybe you call it 251 yesterday. And there was another big, huge celebration on the National Mall in Washington, D.C., between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. And thunderstorms almost canceled the Washington celebration. In the long run, it only delayed it for a few hours, and it added a certain amount of attendant drama to the whole situation. And I thought perhaps there was lightning that was, they wanted to make sure that everybody was safe and that lightning wouldn't be around the proceedings. And, I was thinking about how, the Declaration of Independence talks about nature's God. And I was thinking about how nature's God decided it wanted to participate in the world record fireworks that were going on and decided to send down a few lightning bolts just to participate with that. But they weren't able to stop it for sure. I think they just wanted to participate. Nature's God just wanted to participate in it a little bit. It was billed and as promoted as the largest fireworks event that was ever going to occur in the history of the Earth. And I remember talking to somebody about that at the party last night, and they poo-pooed it a bit, says, oh, that's just President Trump trying to, he's just exaggerating. But I looked it up, and actually, apparently it was the largest fireworks event that has ever occurred in the history of the planet Earth. There were 860,000 different individual pyrotechnic devices that were set off, and this was actually a record. The record was 810,754, which were done in the Philippines for the 216th, or for the 260 New Year's celebration that took place in the Philippines. And it was organized by the Iglesia de Ni Cristo, which I'm sure means the Church of Christ. And so the event last night in Washington, D.C., which the lightning didn't stop, and which did start still on the 4th of July, though it extended into the 5th of July, was 6% bigger than the event that took place in the Philippines. And you know, President Trump, he likes big things. But it did go on, and it was 40 minutes long, and it was spectacular. I don't know if you saw it. I saw it. I watched it at home on my big screen TV with Reverend Deuce Althea. It started after the president gave his address, and it was amazing. It was a spectacular thing. It was a spectacle, that was for sure. And I hope people were able to watch it without political judgment. It just made me glad, and it was a celebration, and there were happy people. And the people on stage seemed happy. The people in the audience seemed happy. I was happy watching it. And I thought about A Course in Miracles idea. Again, this was in the quotes that Reverend Paula read. Have you really considered how many opportunities you have had to gladden yourselves and how many you have refused? And so perhaps there were some people that just refused to watch it because of political ideologies. And I think that's just kind of too bad. It's just too bad. It was the largest fireworks display in the history of the planet Earth. So you let political ideologies stop you from just watching that spectacle. Choose again. Choose again. You can see it. There's videos. I shared a link. Yeah, I mean, actually, you can find a video that's just the fireworks display. It's 40 minutes long. You don't have to watch the president's talk if you don't really want to watch the president. And you can just watch the 40-minute fireworks display. Though I like the president's talk, but, you know, the fireworks display was done to live music. It's the first time I've seen a fireworks display done to live music. And there were 4 singers that sang all throughout the fireworks display. They were all in military uniform, so I assume they were all military people. And there were 3 women and 1 man, and they sang, you know, a whole variety of songs. There must have been 30 songs that they sang, including YMCA, which I always get a hoot out of because it was so obviously identified with the gay movement for so many years, and now it's been kind of appropriated by the current administration, but they don't change any of the lyrics. They still talk about how fun it is to stay in the YMCA and to have fun with the boys. So it's all still there. So it's just kind of amusing whenever that's sung really enthusiastically. And it was last night by the singers, and there were amazing fireworks that went on in back of it. So if you were one of those people who didn't watch it, maybe because of political ideologies, yeah, challenge that. Watch the fireworks and just be glad. You know, there's another quotation about gladdening ourselves that comes later after that first one I read. It says, I have told you before to think how many opportunities you have had to gladden yourselves and how many you have refused. This is exactly the same as telling you that you have refused to heal yourself. So we heal ourselves when we just allow ourselves to be glad. It isn't talking about transcendent peace and joy here. It's just talking about simple happiness. Be glad. Do happy things. Watch fireworks performed with happy singers in the background and a lot of pans to really happy people in the audience who are singing along with a lot of the songs. It was joyful. Who can watch fireworks and joyful singing and happy people and not feel glad themselves? That means they're healing themselves while they are doing it. So, freedom, happiness, they're all related. And there was a lot of happiness last night. I think they were especially happy that the fireworks actually went on after being delayed for all those hours. So freedom. I had the freedom. I have the freedom to declare that I'm a bisexual, non-monogamous person. I have the freedom to form a church that revolves around the self-evident religion that I believe I have, that I am claiming for myself. I have the freedom to be in joy with millions and millions of people celebrating this amazing, wonderful 4th of July weekend with those two amazing celebration events. Friday's event over Mount Rushmore and last night's event at the Washington Mall that even nature decided to participate in with a few lightning bolts. What a great life of freedom we have. What a great life of freedom I have had. And I am happy and glad and actually proud to live in the United States of America. Okay, that's my talk for today. Thank you very much.
A flower is a beautiful thing. It grows to the quiver of a fife that sings. I can take it with the wave of my hand and place it upon my music stand. Such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing. The world is a marvelous show.